Who were the six? Catherine of Aragon. Catherine of Aragon was the Infanta of Spain, the youngest daughter to Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon. Catherine was an ideal beauty of the day, fair complexion, beautiful red hair and big blue eyes. She was engaged to Arthur, Prince of Wales, from the age of 3. She was raised to become an English princess and eventual queen, even having a claim to the English throne herself. She and Arthur wrote to each other over many months before meeting for the first time when Catherine came to England in November 1501. It isn't really known what they thought of each other intimately, but they dutifully got married at St. Paul's Cathedral in an enormous ceremony. Being the Princess of Wales, Catherine was moved to Ludlow, where her husband's household had been established. Goodness knows what Catherine must have thought of living there after the glorious son of Spain. Sadly, Arthur and she caught what was likely the sweating sickness. Catherine recovered, whereas Arthur died in April 1502. She was cast adrift after that. Henry VII sent for her to return to London, but she was kept very meanly for a Spanish princess. In this time, though, she did actually become an ambassador for Aragon, making Catherine the first female ambassador on record. When the old king died and Henry became King Henry VIII, he gallantly rescued his Spanish bride and they married, even being crowned jointly. Due to their former related status, the Pope had to issue a special dispensation for them to marry. England loved their new rulers. Catherine was utterly beloved as his consort. Henry created her his regent whilst he was away fighting in France. In that time, the Scots invaded and Catherine saw England to great victory. She even wanted to send Henry the head of the defeated King of Scots, though the council declined, saying it was too bloody. Despite how beloved she was and how good she was in her role, Henry came to be disappointed in their marriage due to the lack of surviving children. Catherine had 6 pregnancies with only 2 surviving for any length, Prince Henry living for just 52 days, and Mary, who is still thankfully alive and growing beautifully. Catherine had to endure her husband looking elsewhere, mainly to her own ladies, and siring sons with them, thus proving it was all Catherine's fault. Her husband withdrawing from her made her closer than ever to Mary, her daughter. In the mid-1520s, Catherine had to endure her husband's passionate obsession with another of her ladies, Anne Boleyn. Whereas others had given in to Henry, Anne did not. She wanted nothing to do with him until she finally decided to give in to his pestering and agree to marriage, if Catherine could be gotten rid of. Catherine fought with all her might against Henry and his insanity. Catherine had the courts on her side, the Pope on her side, therefore God, and the people of England. She'd been their queen since 1509 and they loved her. Henry's new bit on the side couldn't replace that. Henry's reason for divorce was Catherine being married to his brother and sleeping together. Therefore, it meant their marriage was improper, according to the Bible, hence the earlier dispensation. Catherine remained adamant that they didn't sleep together and she was a girl when they married. Eventually, there were 2 courts, Anne Boleyn's and Catherine's, 2 queens with 1 king flitting between both. One day, Henry decided to abandon Catherine and asked her to remove herself from his presence. From 1531 until her death in 1536, she was moved from palace to palace, with the conditions worsening on each move. She eventually ended up at Kimbolton Castle, where she lived quite miserably and wasn't even allowed to see her daughter. Henry had long since declared himself broken with Rome and supreme head of the church in England in order to divorce Catherine and marry Anne. As Catherine only recognised the Pope as head of the church, she believed they were still married and Henry wasn't a bigamist, as his new marriage didn't exist. When she lay dying in January 1536, she wrote a letter to Henry saying, "I make this vow that mine eyes desire you above all things, Catherine the Queen." Catherine died on the 7th of January, likely of cancer. She was buried in Peterborough Cathedral in a great ceremony, but as that of a Dowager Princess of Wales, not Queen of England. Catherine had a depressingly tragic end for such an incredible woman and Queen Consort of England. The courage she must have had to say no to the king knows no bounds.